Hello, my name is Alyssa. I'm with Stories and Spoilers, the podcast, and I'm extra excited for this episode. It's giving spooky, it's giving haunted. And this is Spit Back the Bones with the author Teagan Olivia King. The cover is a girl, and there is like a bony hand reaching for her and a massive moon behind her. But without further ado, I would like to introduce the author. Tell them more about yourself, Teagan.
Hey, yeah. My name is Tegan. I have been a writer since, I hate to be one of those people that are like, I've been a writer since I was 5 years old. Um, but kind of. My first full-length work was called Maggie and Her Cat, and it was very uh important. I think I like drew illustrations with it or something too. Um, but yeah, I've been writing for basically my whole life. My mother is a writer, my grandmother is a writer, and my great grandmother was an English teacher. So it's kind of in the bones, if you will. Um, yeah, and I write mainly horror. I do dabble sometimes in like fantasy. I do have a fantasy book coming out next year, actually.
Ooh.
It's like a horror fantasy, but horror is my love language.
That's an
So
amazing love language. I'm
yeah.
100% here for that. I also love a good horror. I think I like a safe scare. I was telling you about it a little bit before the
hmm
episode started, but like if it's happening in the book, the only way to scare me is for there to be a root of truth. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
that's really gonna freak me out. But your book was different. The very first chapter had me hooked in. So speaking of Spit Back the Bones, can you tell us a little bit more about your book?
I started writing Spit Back the Bones in 2022, I think. I was going through a pretty difficult time in my life, just with some different family situations. And I really wanted to write a book that honored the memory of my brother. Um, I um, I never physically met my brother. He was born and passed before I was born. But he was always this figure to me growing up of like protection. Um, and I always kind of growing up would dream about who he could have been, and what he could have been. And I remember one night, early 2022, talking to my mom about him and about, I wish he was here to go through this with me. I wish I had somebody to go through this with me. And she was like, why don't you just write about it? And I was like, oh, it's just like didn't, yeah, I guess I could. Um, So yeah, I started writing this book about a girl whose brother has been missing, and I named him Jed after my brother, so it was very real for me to write this book. And yeah, just about a brother who had gone missing, and the main character returns home after a period of time away to find out that her little sister is also missing. I just really wanted to play on family like legacy, I guess, and family grief.
Mm.
Um, and I also really wanted to, I wanted to base it in the bog because I grew up on stories of, my old family's bog. Um, and religious trauma, because your girl's got it.
We were also talking about that a little bit before the episode started, discussing how you have a connection to like summer camp and religion and a
hmm
sense of like I guess the power like I don't want to I'm this is a non-spoiler episode, so I'm not spoiling Spit Back the Bones. I am not. This is one of my most anticipated horrors of the year. Um but I remember reading the back, like the description of your book and being like, I need this ASAP. So I'm going to read a little bit of
hmm
the back of the book so listeners can also get a vibe for what it's about. Once I
Okay.
describe this to you guys, you're gonna be like, I need it. For fans of Midnight Mass comes a haunting new horror romance. Something dreadful is festering in the old Thomas Bog. For years, it's done what it has been taught to do. It swallows, but it's done following orders. I'm a huge fan of Midnight Mass. For folks who don't know, that was a brilliant show on Netflix by
Oh,
Mike Flanagan, who also did Haunting of Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House. But the very first chapter of your book, this comes out in September of this year, literally pulled me in. Similarly to like Jackal by Aaron Ede Adams, these first chapters will
ooh,
like grab you and pull you in. It's very atmospheric. So where like Jackal by Aaron E. Adams pulls you into a little girl going into the woods and having her heart punched out, this one, amazing horror, may I add. Amazing.
okay. Mental
That
note.
right? That's more like science fiction and horror. But her
Okay.
entity and her creature mirrors yours beautifully.
Mm.
Um her
Ooh,
entity
okay.
like whispers the names of girls as they're walking home. And if you turn around, he'll
Ooh.
take you. It'll take you and it'll pull you into the woods and
Okay.
it's this entity, it's this creature, and he's like controlled by something in town. And there's like religion,
I
there's like
love
racial
that.
trauma.
Okay.
Yes, but yours also has a similar mirror, from what I've understood, of this entity
Mm-hmm.
linked to water and legend and pain. And
Mm-hmm.
your writing is spectacular. It's so hard not to spoil this,
I
but the
know.
writing is so good. Um,
Oh, thank
I was
you.
like, wow. I wanted to know, were there any lines you wanted to share from your book, or anything that like 5 words you would use to describe the vibes of Spit Back the Bones?
5 words I would use to describe the vibes.
Mm-hmm.
That's humid.
Yep.
It yeah. Uh like I think I said earlier, family grief is definitely um uh anger.
Mm.
And maybe almost like like righteous wrath, maybe more than just anger. Um uh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
just like wet, sticky, hot
I get
bugs.
that.
Um trying to think of more words that give the vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of yeah, lots of feelings of a lot of anger, a lot of grief, a lot of sadness. But I hope at the end, hope.
Mm. I get that. I
Yeah.
also think it's beautiful how you had the son of the religious like person in town be a like close connection for the main character, like for her to have a friend and possibly
Hmm.
a romantic connection. I was curious, what kind of made you want to link romance and horror in a story that is so like tethered to trauma and pain? Like, why did you want to implement a little bit of romance into that?
Because I think it's a very human experience to live side by side with trauma, uh, having trauma and love reside together almost.
Mm.
Nobody goes through life unscathed. Nobody goes through life without grief and without loss and without some feelings of anger. Um, and to balance that all out, I think you need love, even if it's not, romantic love, if it's just like platonic love, I think um you need that to balance it out. And that's what Ro, the character, the male love interest, is for the main female character. I think he works to balance. She is so angry all the time. Like she's just
Mm-hmm.
always ready to, punch a bitch.
Yeah.
And she does. Not to give away spoilers, but
Yeah.
um and he is always there to balance to balance that out. And he never what I loved about, and I know he's not a real person, but he is to me. Um, what I loved about him was that he never, calls her out. He never says, you're being too much or you're being too angry. He always validates her anger, but then he's always also there to like ground her
Mm.
and root her back. So I think that's why, the horror and the romance kind of, for the most part, the romance takes a very back backseat. It's not, it's not a romance book.
No.
But it's there to ground all of the anger that the main character has, and
Wow.
to humanize it, I think, because yeah, for me, you have trauma, everybody has it, and when you find love is kind of when you find something that grounds you. Yeah.
I love that description so much. That was actually beautifully said. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. I also wanted to kind of ask a little bit about, you said there's stories linked to your family blog.
Hmm.
Were there any stories that heavily inspired Spit Back the Bones? If you want to share them with us. I love a good legend.
Yeah.
I love a good story. So yeah, tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that. I
Okay.
want to
So,
hear Spooky Go.
yeah, growing up, my Oma would always talk about the old family bog, and she was obsessed with it. She wrote a book back in the 80s that was also based in the bog. And
Cool.
yeah, and it was all based around, the bog that she grew up next to. And my Opa, her husband, he grew up on the other side of the bog. So I have kind of stories from both sides, but the one that I used the most for Spit Back the Bones was my Opa would tell these stories of when he was a young teenager. He has so many stories where I'm like, how did you survive? And also, you're so stupid. Just like all these things that I can't believe he did. But one of them was the town, people in town knew to not go into the swamp because you couldn't tell what ground was solid and what ground was gonna just slurp you right in. So you didn't go.
Mm.
Um, and my Opa didn't listen to that rule, uh, and basically learned to walk across the bog in a way where he wouldn't get sucked in. Um, but he was playing with death every time he did it. But he would do it all the time. And there's a story that when he and Oma I think were they married, or were they just dating, or I can't remember, but at some point in their relationship, they went out to the bog, and he was like, go stand over there. It's safe. She's like, okay. So she goes and stands over wherever he told her, and he went to another spot and he started like jumping, and where she was, she said the land just started to like shake because there was nothing underneath her.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So like the idea in Spit Back the Bones, there's a lot of imagery of like, these clumps of peat or
Mm-hmm.
cattails that don't have any, like Mila has to quickly jump to the next one because if she stays on this one too long, she's gonna sink in. And that's what I grew up the story was
Wow.
that you couldn't stay on the clumps of land for more than like a couple seconds or you were gone.
That is so spooky. I'm
Yeah.
like, I guess every family has like stories they pass down where they're like, this is a thing where my relative probably should not like have made it, but they did.
Yeah.
Thank God, or
Yeah.
else be like we wouldn't be here. Funny story. Since you shared yours, I will definitely share mine. But my I live in Florida, so I live near water. And my dad, when he was 16, he had a really good friend who's actually the brother of my godmother. So like it all kind of connects. But this friend was fucking around, and they were near a body of water, and the rocks have like algae, so they're really slippery and
Mm.
sharp.
Hmm.
So his friend was like walking on the rocks and like messing around, and he slipped and he fell into the water, and there was a riptide. And you can still see the riptide now. Like it's still like very active. And my dad was like, I'm gonna get in trouble if something bad happens to him, and I don't want him to get hurt. So my dad also jumped in the water thinking I'm a strong swimmer. When my dad took diving classes, he swam all the time. Like he was 17 at the time. He was like, I'm physical enough, like I'll be fine. He also got swept out,
Hmm.
and they were trying to put their feet in the sand, and they were getting pulled by the tide so strong. They ended up just like gripping the rocks, and like they cut their hands like trying to pull their bodies back on land. So my dad said like we went back there last week, and he showed me the water, and it was still like swirling, like
Yeah.
super dark and swirling. People were like fishing there, like it was no big deal. My dad was like, don't get too close. Uh there's no railing. Like
Yeah.
there's rocks and there's a part with the cement and there's no railing. So if you fall in, like it's still really deep. So my dad was like,
Oh,
yeah, that's exactly where I fell. And it's like 20 plus years later, my dad's like right there. And it was really spooky. I was like, if this is a horror book, it would be like a face coming up from the water. It would have been like
right?
an
Yeah.
alternate version. But it was super
Oh my
spooky. I
goodness.
was like,
Yeah.
what do you did? I'm like, Dad, if you messed around, I wouldn't be here. He's like, well, I'll lie. I'm like, okay, well, he's like, moral of the
Right?
story,
Yeah.
I live forever. I'm like,
I lived,
okay.
I lived, I did it. I did
Yeah,
it.
it's him looking at the water and being like, great days. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stories that Opa always, would tell about the bog, I would just be like, "You did what?
But
What?
why?
But why?
Why?
Why did you do
Oh,
that?"
I don't know why I'm imagining your grandpa as the guy from Holes, where she's like, I'm tired of this grandpa. And he's like, that's too damn bad. Like,
That's too damn bad. Oh my gosh, that is
yeah, I'm like, whenever someone describes a grandpa, I'm like, that's the person I imagine from the movie Holes.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I actually love that. I think it's a really interesting story, especially because the first chapter of your book links to a very interesting perspective in the bog, in the dark.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, you built that tone so well. I was curious, when writing this book, did you see everything visually in your mind like a movie? Or was it more like as you wrote like the words out, the story kind of revealed itself to you? Like, did you see the images in your mind, or was it like it's just words on a page?
It definitely played out like a movie in my head while I was
Hmm.
writing. A lot of things changed. So like the first draft was a pile of horseshit. But the first draft has a lot of things that either I cut or they became something different. And like the entity that you will know in the final version is not even close to what it was in the first version. So
Wow.
yeah, writing it was a lot. Things did reveal it themselves like as I was writing it. But it just like I wrote it in a month, which is like unheard of for me.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not that fast of a writer, but I just like wrote it in a month and it played out in my brain and like it was like watching a old movie reel, just like yeah,
That is so
and it just
cool.
yeah, it just spilled out and
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. It was a pile of like I said, that was a pile of horse shit. It was so bad when I first wrote it, but that's how it goes.
Okay. And do you know? I'm just curious. You said your first version was not great. So what version
Yeah.
is this one? Like the seventh version, like the eighth version? Like
I don't know, dude, to be honest.
you
I have
lost
no
track?
idea. I lost track.
Understandably.
I I wrote this and I was like, this is garbage. And I just like put it away and started working on something else. And I sent it to my best friend who's also a writer. And I was like, Amanda, this is terrible. Like, can you tell me if it's even worth trying to revise? And she read the whole, bless her heart. She read the whole thing on Google Drive, on Google Docs, and I don't know how she got through it because it was rough. Um, but she was like, she loved it, and she was like, there's so much potential here that I think
Mm,
you're not seeing maybe because I was like, I mean, we're always our own worst critics, right?
that's true.
So everything I write, I'm like, this is garbage, and like throw it away for like a month before I can like come back to it and be like, okay, well, yes, it's bad, but I can fix it, because
Mm,
you've the first I always say you can't edit like a blank page.
that's true.
So you're gonna get your first draft out and it's probably gonna be crap. Uh but it has all the bones. And so your second draft is just filling it in and realizing what works and what doesn't work. Um your first draft is kind of you telling yourself the story, and then the second draft is you actually figuring out the story and like
That's a really cool
putting it together.
perspective. I love that.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was
Yeah.
like, heck yeah. I wanted to share my favorite lines from your book, but because it's not out yet, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I can't do it. Because they're not gonna really understand like where they're coming from. And I don't want to spoil anything per se.
Mhm.
But I did want to share the first line of your book, if that's okay. Just
Yes.
so that people can get a sense of like why this book is so amazing. And the first line, listeners, this is like awesome. In the bog, sound is muffled. It plays tricks. It leads you to believe the ground is solid. That if you place your foot against the mud seeping from between peat and cattails, it will remain sturdy and carry you forward. But the bog is a lover, and lovers like to lie. So good. I was like, if you ever need an audiobook voice, I am your girl.
Gotcha.
I also imagine the entity in your book for some reason as Vecna from Stranger Things.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. If you enjoy like the creepy elements of Stranger Things, you get that a little bit with this entity, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. If Vecna was
slimy,
slimy and like white,
yeah,
like translucent,
like a boiled egg.
like a boiled egg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like before it becomes deviled and delicious. He's like pre deviled delicious boiled egg. You're pale like the skin of like a catfish. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like creepy. Yes,
yeah,
but
or like maggots. He's like a
yes,
maggot,
like a big worm. He's
a
creepy.
big maggot. Yeah,
Like Dune. Like
yes,
Dune. Yes.
yeah.
This is my like worm shape. Like Dune.
This is a worm.
Yeah, he's exactly like that. But he's more horrific in the book. But while reading this, I was like, I need to think of something to like make myself less scared. And I was like, I just need to think of something to like keep me grounded. And I thought of Paul Rudd doing that dance on SNL. He was like, don't make me dance, guys. That's what I had to imagine when I was reading your books. I was scaring myself. I was like, I can't stop reading. And then I'd look up and I'd be like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love your writing. And
Oh,
as we
thank
close
you.
out this episode, I was like, what is something that you want listeners to know about Spit Back the Bones? And what was one of your favorite parts of writing this book?
Yeah, I think what I want readers to take away from this book is you're not alone in your religious trauma. And your anger is good. I think as people who grew up in the church, we were taught that our anger was bad and that our anger was sinful. And that questioning things about religion was sinful and bad. And I think it's good to question, and I think it's good to get angry when there is injustice being done. And I don't want to give anything away, but when there's injustice being done by the people who claim to be the just and claim to be the righteous, um, you're allowed to be angry at that. You're allowed to get angry at that, and you should be angry at that. Um, and sometimes I've heard there's been a couple reviews already that have talked about, well, your main character's too angry. I don't think she's too angry. I think her anger is valid because of what she's seen from the church. I'm angry as somebody who grew up in that and who sees a lot of what is going on today with the American church, especially. Yeah, I'm goddamn angry, and I don't think there's anything that is too much anger. So I want readers to know that the anger that they feel, the grief that they feel, too, because there is so much beauty in faith, right? There can be so much beauty in it.
I agree.
So there's a lot of I hold a lot of grief too as a person, to see what the church has become when that's not even close to what it was supposed to be, right? So yeah, I think that's like the main the main message, that you be angry.
I while reading your book, I'm like a spiritual person, I suppose. And we were talking about it before the episode started recording. But I have this fear of like darkness, like being in darkness, or being like in enclosed space with like something scary and like just being abandoned. Like it's a fear. So while I read like horror stories like yours, I enjoy a good scary story. This sense of like, since you referenced Midnight Mass, like that energy in this book, there is a moment in that show where someone says like, the power's in you, like we believed in you. And he's like, the power should have been in your belief in God. Like you shouldn't just believe in me. Like he's like, I'm a flawed person. um
Mhm.
and seeing all these entities in that show turn around and they all have these like beady, like, you know, like eyes, like animals eyes at night, like they reflect light.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
all have that look in their eyes now. They all
Mhm.
became something else because they were all
Mhm.
corrupted, like by people in town. I won't spoil that.
Yeah.
But um in this story with Midnight Mass and with your book, this sense of like by following others and not having thoughts of your own and like not questioning things, um it can be scary to like walk out on your own. It can be scary to
Yeah.
like stand on your own and be like, you know what, I actually don't stand with that. Community gives a sense of safety.
Right.
So when you stand away and you kind of say, I actually don't support that, and you stand on your own, it can be isolating, but it can also be like freeing,
Yeah.
as much as it is lonely. And in your book,
It,
like the main character, thank God she has someone who she can lean on and she can feel like friendship and she can feel like not like she's like screaming to the void by herself.
mhm.
But your book actually made me see and like truly feel like even though there's so much crazy shit going on in the world and there's spooky things out in the universe and out in, you know, even here,
Yeah.
um like as long as you keep yourself and keep your thoughts and keep your feelings, may it be messy or your trauma or your pain, as long as you know who you are, you can navigate through the
Mhm.
darkness. Like you will make it through. And your book made me
Absolutely.
feel
Yeah.
that way. I was just like,
Oh my
yeah, it
gosh.
made me feel that way. I was like, oh, we all have trauma, we all have a lot of pain, and we're all looking for this light, we're all looking for this protection. But like to be able to say, like, your trauma is your own, your power is your own, your anger is your own, like you can fight, you can be like the final person if you just like stay afloat long enough, as long as you lean on someone, as long as you like, if holding on to your anger or holding on to your like, this is my trauma and this is what I'm gonna do to handle it and to navigate, like I am who I am and I'm doing my
Mhm.
best to improve, and that's that.
Mhm.
This book made me feel like prayers are great,
Mhm.
yes, but like
Mhm.
sometimes you need to fight tooth and nail to get out of things,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is fucking badass. Like your book is so cool. And
Oh,
it was
thank
just
you.
so amazing. It even reminded me of like Sydney from Scream with her trauma
Okay.
and her pain. A lot of
Mhm.
people were like, you should have gotten over this by now. And she was like, what did you just say to me? That energy, that frustration and anger, and everyone trying to like push her down, like you should repress and like you should, a lot of the energy of like Scream, Sydney from Scream reminded me a lot of the main character in this.
Mm,
So like
yeah.
if you're a lover of Midnight Mass and you're a lover of Scream and a little bit of Stranger Things with the
Mhm.
Vecna vibes,
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
book is gonna be for you. Like it is so good. And it's perfect for Halloween. And it's honestly good for year round.
Yeah, I've heard a lot
Yeah.
of people refer to it as like a summer ween.
It is kind of like
Um,
Summerween. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
This comes out September 23rd of this year. And
Like
Tegan,
2 months.
in 2 months, which is crazy. But is there anything that you want to tell listeners about with Spit Back the Bones before we close out the episode?
Um, I do want to make mention, I mean, it is in the book, it's at the back of the book, but, this book was written for, my brother, and, I hope that I guess if you've lost someone, like we all have, we've all lost somebody, um, they're still right there with you. Uh, Jed, my brother Jed, never left. Um, and so I think that's one of the biggest things to me is that, yeah, they're still with you, and I don't want you to forget that. And also, you can be angry, and it's okay. I think that's that was why I wrote it for myself too, was it's okay to be angry.
Thank you, Tegan. Thank you for sharing your book with us. Thank you for sharing all of the characters and even the monster with us. Everything in this book is intense and raw and visceral and spooky. And there is a light at the end if you survive long enough to see it. And it's absolutely amazing. Where can everyone find your book and where can they find you? And thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I want everyone
Yeah.
to know where to
No, I'm
find your
so
book.
excited.
Yeah, this is
Um,
awesome.
my book will be it's gonna be basically wherever you order your books from, you're going to be able to get it, even, no matter where you are in the world, which is really cool too.
That's
So, yeah, the publisher bought world rights. So basically, wherever you live, if you have a way to order books, you're going to be able to order it. It's only going to unfortunately be in English right now. So, it would be cool to get translation rights, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, anywhere you get your books, you can get it. You can order it at your local indie, which is my favorite way of uh, buying books. You can order it through my local indie, which is cool. And you can find me basically on any social media platform at Teagan Olivia Writes. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Teagan. Everyone who's listening, please follow Teagan on social media. I'll have everything linked below, along with pre-order link for this book.
yeah.
Yeah, and please like this on YouTube if you can. Subscribe. All the support is amazing. Share this episode with your friends so they can hear all about Spit Back the Bones. And have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye.